Make your getaway in the all-new Volkswagen Taos. See the city in a whole new light. Or change course entirely. Because even the best laid plans need an escape plan. Whatever your adventure, the all-new Taos is always game. Volkswagen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Cryptohop. This is where cryptocurrency meets hip-hop. In our studio audience today, we have Stevie J II. We're excited about hearing about the music that he has in this hip-hop space. And we also are going to bring Russell Simmons to the stage today to talk about how cryptocurrency is meeting hip-hop in our Cryptohop series. And so we're really excited today and thankful to Exposure Television for having us on today and creating a fabulous platform where we all can enjoy what we need to do and what we need to understand and what we need to see in our community. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Russell Simmons. All right. Hello. Hi, Russell. How are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm well. Thanks for asking.
That is good. Well, welcome to an episode of Crypt Hop. This is where cryptocurrency meets hip hop. And because I am such a, I don't even know what to say. I have a healthy respect for hip hop and just really excited about doing this interview today. I just want to take a few seconds to just kind of help folks understand how we got to where we are with this thing called Crypt Hop, and we're going to hear about the masterminds of hip hop. And you can't hear us, Russell? No.
My headphones work. It'd be a little easier for you
Oh,
to hear.
okay.
But I'm
Okay.
platform. I don't know what that would be. I'm not doing that. But for some reason, my earpods aren't working. It's okay. I'm sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead.
No, it's good. We hear you good. So as you know, a couple of weeks ago we met in Los Angeles, and I was explaining that I have one of the only brick and mortar cryptocurrency banks in the United States, and then I'm also a co-founder in the Black Wall Street Wallet, which is with the actor Hill Harper, and it was just such a fabulous fit when Hassan and Miranda came, and we talked about talking about this whole mastermind of hip hop, the NFT artists that are the godfathers and godmothers of hip hop. It was just so extraordinary. I could not help wanting to be a part of it. And I would just like to just kind of dig right in and just talk a little bit about you and how you got into hip hop so we can bring people into the conversation. And then we'll talk a little bit more about NFTs and about this whole cryptocurrency space, if that's okay with you.
I'm very excited to share. I want more people to understand the space, especially in our community. And I just want to be a catalyst for, the core of this. I'll tell you the whole story, but the core of this is my love for the founding fathers and mothers of hip hop. And there's a lot of very successful artists, some of which I signed Kanye's first deal. And I met him, and he became now by far the richest in hip hop. And I look at all of these artists as giants and influence of the entire world, not just the black community, right? Obviously, Kanye and Jay-Z, we signed many years ago, or whoever these artists are. These guys have become national phenomena, and they all started in the black community and then spread. And now you look at his album, it comes out, and we're targeting the black community first because that's where the core community in hip hop is. But then the album was number one in 90 countries, right? So all of these artists, the Drakes, these guys, they stand on the shoulders of these founding fathers and mothers. And I just want to give credit and compensation to those whose shoulders I stand on as well. I just feel like it's a really worthy use of my time, and I'm excited to continue the journey with them for.
Yes, and for the community, as we see hip hop as it is today, we really don't understand how much and how intense just the work that was done before these young brothers and sisters right now, and the shoulders that they stand on. Those stories are so relevant and so critical, and we don't want to lose those stories, obviously. And as we all grow older, those of us that grew up in hip hop, it's imperative that we tell our stories, and that those stories are told so that people can really appreciate the fight and the struggle that came from where that brought us to where we are today. And so, growing up, Russell, how did you grow up? Where did you grow up? What was there a love for music? Was your family into music? Like, how did you really get into this space?
Well, I was a student at City College. I grew up in Queens, New York, and I went to City College. In my first year of college, or second year of college, I was in Charles Gallery, and I saw an artist named Eddie Chiba. And I spoke about this on my first NFT. And I saw him perform, and other than doing what I was doing, which wasn't really healthy, I started to promote shows. And they were performing artists. The important thing is they were performing, not recording artists, right? So these guys had big following in their communities, and we would promote their show. They'd perform, and of course, their notoriety in the community was incredible. For us as young promoters, they were the stars. Then in 1979, I recorded Christmas Rapping with Curtis Blow, who was also a pre-recording but a performing artist. And we recorded his record, Christmas Rapping, and it became a hit. And it was on the shelf when Rapper's Delight came out, which is actually the first mega hit. So we saw it all evolve. We saw where it came from. We saw all the boroughs. As a promoter, I saw all the boroughs. It was Queens for me, and Harlem and the Bronx mostly, and Brooklyn had its scene. But it was Harlem and the Bronx where hip hop started. And a lot of the stories are not told. And if they're told by artists themselves who lived in a certain area and had their own perception of how great they were, or their other artists around them were, but didn't understand in the context of the whole city. So if they all speak, like in the documentary, or if they all tell their story, the story will refine itself so that history will record it properly. That's the idea, is that history will record it properly in the long run. I think they're doing a great job at the Universal Hip Hop Museum, which is under construction. And I think they're an important part of this process. If you notice the NFTs that we're releasing, many of them have vocal performances from the 70s. In other words, so these performances lifted off cassette tapes.
Wow.
From 77 to 76, 78. These performances now placed on top of new music by LG Cutmaster, who works at the Universal Hip Hop Museum. And the music and the rap sounds like, exactly like that era and those greatest performances. I think that they're new, special music pieces, with the vocal performances from the 70s. That's the collector's item. I mean, aside from the stories that they tell, those lyrics, those performances are priceless and
Yes.
museum quality. So
Yes.
that's what we world, and we hope that this becomes a documentary, a book, a point of interest for young people, so they can share this history and mint it, if you will. So it will live forever, and it will be documented in a way that really reflects the birth of hip hop and its evolution.
So some of these artists, or most of these artists, of course, tell their own story. So it didn't matter, even if they were in the same borough. From what I've heard from some of the NFTs, is that even if they were from the same borough, they had different stories. Can you kind of explain why that is, or why people in the same vicinity would tell a different story?
Well, as time goes by, this is why it's so important to mint this history now. It's important to tell it while people are alive, so we can make it as accurate as possible, right? A lot of artists will give years when they started performing, and a lot of other artists will give, and some of those years, the recollections
Hmm.
are personal. And but as you all chime in, you start to get a clear picture. Like, for instance, I talk a lot about DJ Hollywood because for me, as a promoter, there was no question. There's not any doubt in anyone's mind that he sold the most tickets. So as a
Hmm.
promoter, chasing success in that hip hop world in the '70s, Hollywood was the biggest star, and the next biggest star for us, and it changes because there's Grandmaster Flash was a younger audience. Grand Wizard Theodore and these guys were younger, but Grandmaster Flash in particular was very, very big draw. Eddie
Yeah.
Cheever was a very big draw. Lovebug Starsky was a very, very big draw. So and Kool Herc as well. These were people that lots of people would come out and pay to see, but especially Hollywood. Hollywood played the Apollo Theater, which he talked about. Hollywood played the Apollo Theater, and his name was on the awning every week. And no matter who the band was, he'd whip their ass and send them home. So they would call it, whoever would be George Clinton or whoever was coming to the Apollo. They say, "I'm not going to play the Apollo. If I'm going to cancel, if you're going to have that nigga there." Well, can't get rid of Hollywood because he's selling half the tickets. And yeah, he would sometimes play before them, and they would perform, and then he ended up playing again after them. So you imagine he was the closer, and he was just a DJ. He
Wow.
rapped, and you listen to some of the raps that are on his NFTs, and the crowd and his call and response, almost like Cab Calloway. They were very much into call and response, right?
Yes.
And people had never seen that. For instance, the first thing I heard that was call and response was Eddie Cheever saying on and on and on and on, like hot butter on what, and the
Yeah.
crowd would say pop, right? And then Hollywood would say let's rock, and the crowd would go and roll, the whole crowd, and there was like a call and and everybody say ho is obvious, right? And the whole crowd would say ho.
Yes.
These this dialogue between the audience and the rapper is an old, and it's part of another tradition, but it was
Yeah.
never recorded for this generation. And I think giving credit and compensation, these guys are old as hell. They're old as me, right? They're in and they haven't gotten all they deserve, in my opinion. And this is why it's
Definitely.
important. And their children and grandchildren should know what their contribution to culture
Yes,
is.
yes, yes. Yes, you all definitely, they have not gotten their just due. And also, as I'm listening to you talk, and I'm listening to you about the passion that it is making folks understand the culture and what was happening back there. Even though I'm a little bit younger than you, but even though I was on the West Coast, we missed all that history. And the reason I say that is because the record execs here in California, they gave us a different music. We didn't start hearing about the hip hop, and you're talking about the 78, 79. I mean, growing up, really, I thought rap and hip hop started with kind of like the Sugar Hill Gang. And I think for me, bringing these NFTs and these stories to the community really helps us understand what was going on back in those states and cities that we didn't even have an opportunity to get exposed to. Because I think, I grew up around a lot of folks, even, I grew up in the Ice Cubes and all that here in Los Angeles. And really, other than again Sugar Hill Gang and some of those things, they didn't even really talk to us about or allow us to listen to what was being played on the East Coast. And so for me, this collection brings a part of history that has actually been subdued and hidden to those of us that grew up on this coast. And so I think it's just so relevant.
These guys, a lot of these guys never recorded. Sha
Wow.
Rock and Hollywood and Eddie Cheeba and Starsky, these guys, they may have made a record in the very beginning. We made You Gotta Believe with Lovebug Starsky, and Hollywood made a record with Ralph McDonald, the jazz musician, which never got promoted and played, and then Eddie Cheeba as well. So these guys never had recording success, but all the guys who made the first records borrowed everything from them. Then when, if you say hip hop, then you had, Hollywood and Starsky, and they say hip hop, the speakers would vibrate. Hip hop, the hip, the hop, and the whole room would vibrate. And they're performing. Thousands of people would come to see Hollywood. Hollywood once played 3 ballrooms that were next to each other at one time. He played Les Jardins, La Constellation, and 3 ballrooms. And then he'd go somewhere else. He'd get in his car 3 or 4 or 5 places in one night. And he'd walk in, he was the headline, he'd perform, and he'd go to the next one. That's how popular he was in the city. So that is a story that's not told. Just like, again, if you listen to his performances, which are in his NFTs, you get the gravity. You get a feeling of the gravity which he stood on.
Definitely. Yes, and so this blockchain technology that we're all learning about, this cryptocurrency that we're all learning about, blockchain technology is something that is going to we're going to be able to actually store these historical moments, and we can give a timestamp to it. It's going to be so incredible for those generations that come after us. Can you tell us some of the hip hop artists that you have and will be showcasing on this Masterminds of Hip Hop collection?
Well, people like Snoop, not people like Snoop has helped me curate it, and he's given us an NFT, and Chuck D from Public Enemy has given us an NFT. And then we have a group of artists, and we're going to continue to pursue artists like Big Daddy Kane's and that whole generation, which is 2 generations later, in a way, at least certainly 1 generation later than the founding fathers. But I think that just for the sake of culture and documenting it, it's nice to go into the next generation. But for me, my involvement is about those who created hip hop and who are not getting the credit. For me, and I do like getting the Black community to understand crypto, and through hip hop, this is a great vehicle. As you know, the hip hop community is the best brand building community in America. If they decide it's Pepsi, it's Pepsi. If it's Coke, they said so, it's Coke. If it's a Maybach, it's a Maybach versus a Phantom Rolls Royce.
Yes.
So they decide whether it's Gucci or Prada. And I just like for them to reaffirm for us this new currency, the understanding of it, to teach us more and to delve in. They're brilliant. They're the best branding community all over the world, not only in America. I should take that back. Everywhere. Hip hop is. I was in America
everywhere,
and I just got back here. And the first thing when I get up, in Bali. When I get off the plane, I get in the car. They're playing Meg Thee Stallion, right? And it might be an Indonesian station. I don't know what the hell they're talking about until Meg Thee Stallion pops on the radio,
right?
And that's the reality, not only here but in Indonesia, but all over the world. The Rapper China was the biggest show in the history of China.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's 400 million people. America has 300 million people.
Wow.
Right? So the one show in China was the Rapper China. So our influence worldwide is not only documented, but it's unbelievable and unprecedented and unparalleled to anything.
Yes. Yes.
So I want our influence to bring us to some kind of a economic prominence as a community, not only as individual artists. So this is one of the benefits from this karmic work, which is the way I view it when I'm talking about lifting these early artists into more popularity and prosperity.
Yes, yes. And again, as I grew up in the neighborhood, just watching the different artists that would get signed with different labels and they get taken advantage of, and they be, scrambling for money, and the music execs had made millions of dollars off their backs. So it is just really refreshing to see something where our new artists and our artists, again, that are unsung, are able to come into this space and really be able to monetize off their image, likeness, and their brilliance in this industry. And so, I know that that's the reason why you did this, and the reason why you're involved is to make sure that folks are getting their just due. So, where would someone go to hear and see about the NFTs and the project that you're doing right now?
I'd like to at this time bring on Hassan, because Hassan is, as the questions get more sophisticated, you can start there, but I like to have him involved because he's got a lot to say, and I think that we need to include him in this because of his areas.
Definitely. Hi, Hassan. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Platforms and new distribution that he's going to talk about, as well as the platforms and the distribution and vehicles of distribution that we have now. Hassan?
Yes.
Hassan, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. So you were asking about our platforms?
Yes. Where can folks go to get an NFT and purchase an NFT and support some of these artists that you all have and are showcasing? And I bought mine. I want to say I was the first to buy mine at the event that we were at here in LA. It's extraordinary. And I'm just so super happy to be a part of it and be able to support those who have really given their lives to just pour into the community and tell stories about the different places and situations that they were, and made you feel like you weren't by yourself. You know what I'm saying? When you listen to hip hop, you felt like, I'm not the only one that's struggling and trying to survive, but they're on the other coast doing the same thing as us. And so, it was great. So tell us where we can find these NFTs and what to expect.
So first and foremost, there's a site called Masterminds of Hip Hop. So you can go there and you will see the drops. It lists all the artists. It has drop 1 and drop 2, which is already there. And then so you can sample everything there with no problem. At the point that you want to buy something, we have through our PayBaby NFT, PayBaby NFT.com. We're the payment portal. We're a Black-owned digital bank, and we have a payment portal that allows you to buy it with a credit or debit card only. You don't need to have crypto or anything like that. So we've made it super simple. It's just like buying something buying it at Target.com or something like that.
So I have to be honest, when he said you can buy this NFT, which is in the crypto space, without having cryptocurrency, I just had to be the first one to try it out, and it worked like a charm. I'm super excited again to be working with, Hassan and PayBaby. And if you didn't hear him, that website is Masterminds of Hip Hop, right? .com / NFT. And you can go to PayBaby, and that's PAYBBY. And that's how you spell PayBaby. So you can definitely do that. So Hassan, what made you get into this space and try to really merge and meet people where they are? Because a lot of people don't have cryptocurrency. They're trying to understand cryptocurrency. And I'm one of those ones that believe we need to meet folks where they are. And I think that this was an ingenious idea, because they didn't have to try to figure out how to buy it and how to open up a wallet immediately. They could do that in the process. And so how did you come up with this innovative idea?
Well, as you know, a cryptocurrency can be difficult to understand in the beginning because we're fairly new to it. So our whole goal is how do we get rid of all those barriers to entry and make it easy? So we're dealing with a lot of artists that didn't understand it. So they said, "Is there a way I can just buy it like buy anything else?" So we went in that area. Myself, I've always been in the sort of the technology business with the idea how to make it easier. So that's been the whole point. So the goal is there's NFTs is non-fungible token. That means it's a unique crypto, unlike a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. All Bitcoins they're fungible. One Bitcoin is the same as another Bitcoin. An
Yes,
NFT is not. And if you try to buy Bitcoin on an exchange, for the most part, it's not as easy because you have to, because of regulation and other things, you have to prove who you are and do all these things up front. So we wanted to find a way to make it super easy where you can get access to it, you can get an NFT, then you connect it to your wallet, and then everybody can have it. And this is
yes,
actually the first step. Our whole goal is to make this something that everybody will have. That's
yes,
the whole point of the Masterminds of Hip Hop, a Pay Baby NFT, and everything we're doing is to simplify the whole process. And eventually with cryptocurrency, our whole goal with that too is to make it
yes,
super easy to get
yes.
access to it.
And as we go forward, just continuing to educate our community so that no matter what we're presented with, we'll be ready. And so as you get into this space, again, I feel like you have to meet people where they are. We may be introducing our community to the masterminds of hip hop, and they come in with these NFTs, but then they really start to understand the new monetary system that's being put in place. And again, I'm one of those ones that, people would like to make me a Bitcoin fundamentalist, but I really believe that we've got to, again, meet folks where they are, educate them, bring them into the space slowly, because this is the wave of the future. NFTs is the way of the future. It's just something, it's just a collectible. And so for those that are asking, what is an NFT? It's a non-fungible token. Yes, it is a collectible, just like you would collect a stamp or you would collect Delta Sigma Thetas. They collect elephants and,
Yeah.
all these things. You go to grandmama's house, big mama's house,
Which people have been
she
doing for
collects crystals,
You
right?
know, when I say it, people get it right away. Like they collect baseball cards, right?
Yeah.
There's only a you have one. It's class comic books, right?
right.
These are things. I mean, cultural people. Comic books are a big deal, and this comic book is old. It's specific, except you can wear it out. But that won't happen with your digital collectible. So it's really, wave of the future. And again, I want to get back to, and not that we want to educate people, but it's the idea that we can take an old idea or older things and bring them onto a new platform. And that new platform, again, just like if artists move to Spotify from the old, now suddenly it's easier to get to. Now suddenly it's always there. Now suddenly, it's never going away, right? So
Exactly.
it's kind of even,
Or the evolution of music.
platform, new
Track
way to monitor, new way to talk about and to create awareness around a particular product or piece of art specifically. So it's just, for me, an exciting, and I'm going back to, it's an exciting way to educate people about the founding fathers of hip hop. And then Hassan, could you told them how they can buy, but don't we have some new revelations now regarding the distribution of it, how we
Yeah.
mint it,
Yes,
places
exactly. I was going to get into that. So right now,
go
the
ahead.
the masterminds of hip hop, it's if you buy it, it's currently on what they call Binance Smart Chain. Binance is the largest exchange in the world. But
Yes.
for those of you who are not familiar with blockchain and crypto, there are multiple blockchains out there, and Binance runs the biggest exchange. It's a low cost exchange, so that's one reason that we did it. It's very powerful. But the largest blockchain is Ethereum. So and Ethereum is much more widely available. So as we grow this, we're going to make this available next on Ethereum, which is the biggest. And then from there, we will make it available on many more exchanges. So the distribution of how you can get this is going to become a lot easier and in a lot more places. So that's the next phase, and you'll see that rolling out over the next few weeks. But at the same time, we plan on making it super easy where you click, buy and get it. So our whole job is to make it easier for the consumer. And then on the other side, we're trying to make it where it's easy for the artists to get control of their content, right? And that's a major change too. Like historically, a lot of these hip hop artists, their beats were taken millions of times and they never got credit for it.
Yes.
Now, blockchain is something. As soon as you put it on there, you own the copyright.
Yes.
So you could rap 2 lines and put it on an NFT and you own it. So all of a sudden, if someone takes it a million times, you could say, hey, wait a minute, this is mine. I have the copyright. So it changes the whole game for the artists as well as for the consumers to get access to it. So the power of it is on both sides, both for the artist and for the consumer. And what we wanted to do is we want to make it possible, particularly for people in our community, not to be left behind. Because we're the biggest creators. The Black community is the biggest creator of hip hop.
Yes, we are.
And so now it's time for us to figure out how we can monetize it for ourselves and have control in such a way that we take advantage of all this new power of this technology. And that's
yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Russell, before we go, go ahead.
There are many people using blockchain there are new technologies being built that will use blockchain to have distribution for independent artists, for example, right? And so it's always these new platforms always allow for disruption in the current market.
Yes.
And there's that potential as well that, almost like a music company of your own where you own. And, so there's a lot of ways to exploit, and the future is very bright. We don't know where all of the, until someone invents it, you don't know what they'll build on top of these platforms. Right.
And right now, people still go to Spotify and they do all those things. And I'm not putting, them down or anything. But the next generation, I think, is going to be blockchain. So the whole distribution system is going to grow on the blockchain side and with NFTs and that type. We're just at the very early stages. Just how MP3s disrupted CDs and then streaming disrupted MP3s, you're going to find NFTs disrupt streaming as we knew it in the past, which is not only for music, it's going to hit video at the same time.
Yes.
And all types of art.
Totally agree. So as we go out today, I know we probably have some questions and we'll grab those on Clubhouse, but I wanted to ask Mr. Russell Simmons, who really inspires you the most in this whole hip hop arena? What was your inspiration? Who inspired you the most?
As a practicing spiritualist, I try to be present and love what is in front of me. When you play music, the song you're playing, and you have now Apple, you can go to any song at any time, but the song you're playing is the most inspiring because you can change the other one. This is the one you're enjoying that's touching your soul and promoting presence. I say that to you because it changes every day. Like I just played Hollywood's NFT, and he sang something I remember as a child, right? And at that moment, it was impossible anything was better. I played it like 10 times. He said, roll, roll, roll your joint, twist it at the end, light it up, take a puff, and pass it to your friend. And he yelled out, Starsky, who passed away, God bless him. And Starsky cut the record, and he went into that rap. And that rap touched me in 1976. And here I am listening to it now, and it just like that was my favorite and most inspired moment. But there are other moments. Whichever moments promotes in music and culture is built just as everyone's pursuit is about awareness and presence, because that second of awareness is why we do everything we do, right? And art brings you home to the present moment. So it changes. You can have a favorite, you think, but then until the next day, they play something else. So there was so many great things that inspired me. And I'd say Eddie Chiba in Hollywood and Grandmaster Flash and Curtis Blow. And I say that, but, I just heard something by Little Baby that made me excited, it changes. Public Enemy. I played probably more Public Enemy and Run DMC, I guess, than anyone. I played their songs more. Of course, Run DMC had to produce them. I had to play their shit over and over again. But, songs come on sometimes, bring me home, and that's where all our efforts in everything we do are to come home to presence, right? To this happy state. And that comes when you are sucked in and you are sucked into the art and the world disappears. These present moments are the blessings that we have being here on earth. So I say that to you and to share with you. This is favorite means moment, this present moment. And what brings you there is, the gift. So anyway, I long tangent, but whatever, I'm always contemplating what favorite mean. So
Well,
many great moments.
that was awesome. That was awesome. And that was words of wisdom from the hip hop legend himself. And I just want to thank you for being present and thank you for gifting us with precious moments of your life to just really share with us what this NFT collection means to you, what it means to our families, what it means to our community. And Hassan, thank you very much. And we're going to continue this conversation on Clubhouse. For those who know, we are headed over to the Black Metaverse because there are probably another 1,000 folks over there waiting on us. And thank you so much to Exposure TV and Miss Tam Lawrence for allowing me the opportunity to share all these fabulous things that are happening in the tech space through her platform and through our new platform, which is called the Black DeFi Network. So excited about that, and thank you for joining this episode of Cryptohop, where cryptocurrency meets hip hop. And special thanks to our in studio gentleman right here today, Mr. Stevie J, the number two. And we're going to hear from him on Clubhouse. So you all have an incredible rest of your day, and looking forward to bringing you many more of these fabulous mothers and fathers of hip hop. I say they're the godfathers and godmothers of hip hop, but we're looking so forward to it. And I believe next week we will have MC Light. I know, Allen Iverson is a part of the hip hop culture too. So we're going to have Allen Iverson on as well. And we're just so excited about things. So have an incredible rest of your day. Peace and blessings, and stay up and stay smart and stay always understanding that change is coming and you can be a part of it and you can participate. You don't just have to look at it in the history books. We are making history right now today. So thank you all. Bye-bye.
Make your getaway in the all-new Volkswagen Taos. See the city in a whole new light. Or change course entirely. Because even the best laid plans need an escape plan. Whatever your adventure, the all-new Taos is always game.
There's something in the air, out of the silence. There's something coming out, I feel it rising. Something at the dark is just beginning. It all starts now. It all starts now. It all starts now.
Don't forget to download the Exposure Network TV application on your cell phone. You can go right now to your Android or your Apple uh, or iPhone rather, and go to your Apple Store and search for Exposure Network TV and download the application today. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week, Friday, with another one of the hip hop legends on Crip Hopped with Naja Roberts. Be sure to save the time and date and block your schedules for the next show coming up. Stay tuned for more live performances from artists from around the country as we do interviews with people who you want to hear from. Exposure Network TV is looking for more channels as well as TV shows. Be sure to support the African American, only the fastest growing with over 800,000 downloads during the pandemic. We were able to achieve success. Be sure to join us by going to www.exposuretvnetwork.com. You can also see our app at exposurenetworktv.com. You can go to exposuretvnetwork.com or exposurenetworktv.tv. We appreciate your time and your consideration, and thank you for watching. And you've been watching The Naja Show, Crypt Hop, right here on Exposure Network TV. You all have a blessed and positive evening and good night.